Jack Miller wiped down the counter of his diner for the 5th time that morning. The small television in the corner blared news that no one in Pinewood thought they would ever hear. Aliens had arrived on Earth. "Turn it up, Betsy," Jack called, to his waitress. She cranked the volume as the news anchor spoke rapidly. The alien spacecraft belonging to a species calling themselves the Vraks landed just outside of Washington, D.C. 3 hours ago. World leaders are gathering for first contact proceedings later today, with smaller delegations of the aliens scheduled to visit major cities across the globe. Jack shook his head. 10 years as a Marine had taught him to be suspicious of the unknown. 5 years running this diner after leaving the service had taught him to mind his own business. The alien arrival was neither of those things. The bell above the door jingled. Maria Gonzalez, Jack's closest friend and the town's librarian, rushed in. "Have you heard? They're coming here." Maria's eyes were wide with excitement. "Who's coming where?" Jack asked, though he already knew. "The aliens. A Vraks delegation is coming to Pinewood." Jack nearly dropped the glass he was cleaning. "Why would they come here? We're just a dot on the map. Mayor Stevens says they requested to visit smaller communities to understand the full range of human culture." Maria grabbed Jack's arm. "They're landing in the park in 2 hours. The whole town is going. You have to come." Jack wanted to say no. Something about this whole situation felt wrong to him. But Maria's enthusiasm was hard to resist, and his curiosity was growing. "Fine," he sighed. "Let me close up early." 2 hours later, Jack stood uncomfortably at the edge of the crowd in Pinewood Park. The mayor had set up a welcome podium, and American flags fluttered alongside newly made banners that read, "Welcome Vraks Friends." "This is crazy," Jack muttered. To Maria, who was practically bouncing with excitement, "It's historic. Our grandchildren will ask us about this day." A sudden hush fell over the crowd as a low hum filled the air. Jack felt the hair on his arms stand up as a sleek silver craft, about the size of a bus, descended from the clouds. It had no visible windows or doors, just smooth metal that reflected the sunlight. The craft touched down gently on the grass, and the hum faded away. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a seam appeared in the side of the craft, widening into a doorway. The first alien emerged, and a collective gasp went through the crowd. The Vrak stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 long arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its head was oval-shaped, with 3 yellow eyes arranged in a triangle. Where a mouth should be, there was instead a small, quivering membrane. Jack tensed automatically. His combat training told him to be ready for anything. 4 more aliens followed the first, each wearing what appeared to be ceremonial robes of dark purple. Mayor Stevens approached cautiously, hand extended. "On behalf of Pinewood and all of humanity, welcome to Earth." The lead alien made a series of clicking sounds. A small device at its throat translated, "Greetings, humans of Pinewood. I am Zex Kor, 3rd emissary of the Vraks Collective. We are pleased to make your acquaintance." The crowd clapped politely, though Jack noticed many people stepping back, slightly. The aliens were impressive but undeniably frightening in person. "We would like to meet your citizens," the alien continued. "Our studies suggest small human settlements have unique cultural practices." The mayor nodded enthusiastically. "Of course, please mingle freely." The aliens spread out, approaching different groups of townspeople. Jack stayed at the edge, watching carefully as Maria chatted nervously with one of the visitors. He didn't notice when one of the aliens approached him from the side. "You stand apart," the alien, Zexkor, said, its translator device clicking. "Are you a guardian of this gathering?" Jack turned, finding himself face to face with the lead alien. "No, just a citizen. Former military." The alien's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. "Ah, a warrior then. The Vraks respect warriors greatly." Jack shrugged uncomfortably. "I run a diner now." "Yet you watch with a warrior's eyes." Zexkor moved closer. "Among my people, warriors greet each other with the ritual of trust." Before Jack could respond, the alien raised its upper arms. 2 hands moved toward Jack's face while the other 2 reached for his neck. Jack's training kicked in instantly. 10 years of combat reflexes didn't disappear, just because you started flipping burgers instead of fighting enemies. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the alien's lower arms, spun it around, and locked his forearm across what he assumed was its throat, applying pressure. The crowd gasped. Phones recorded. Secret Service agents who had been standing nearby rushed. Forward, weapons drawn. "Jack, let go!" Maria screamed from somewhere in the crowd. Jack held the alien in the chokehold for 2 more seconds before reality caught up with him. He released Zexcor and stepped back, hands raised. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I thought you were—" He never finished his sentence. The alien made a strange vibrating sound, its skin rippling with rapid color changes. The other aliens gathered around, making the same sound. "They're laughing," Maria whispered, having pushed through the crowd to reach Jack's side. The translator device at Zexcor's throat crackled. "Magnificent. True warrior instincts. No hesitation." Jack looked at the alien in confusion. "You're not angry?" "Angry? No. The ritual of trust is meant to expose one's vulnerable points to another. Most species respond with submission. Only a worthy species responds with defense." Zexcor turned to the mayor and the now gathering government officials. "This human has proven what we suspected. Your species has the spirit the galaxy needs." Jack ran a hand through his hair, bewildered. "I don't understand." "You will," Zexcor said, placing one of its 4 hands on Jack's shoulder. "You have shown us the truth of humanity better than any prepared speech could have. We would speak with you further, privately." The government officials were frantically conferring with each other. One stepped forward, a woman in a dark suit, with a security earpiece. "Mr. Miller, you'll need to come with us," she said firmly. "This is now a matter of national security." As Jack was led away, Zexcor called after him. "Your defensive reaction was most impressive, Jack Miller. Perhaps it is not chance that brought our delegation to your small settlement." Jack looked back at the alien, a sinking feeling in his stomach. Something told him his life was about to change in ways he couldn't imagine. All because he'd choked an alien on instinct. Maria caught his eye as he was escorted toward a black SUV. She looked equal parts terrified and thrilled. "Don't worry," she called. "I'll feed your cat." Jack managed a weak smile. Feeding his cat suddenly seemed like the least of his worries. The government facility was cold and sterile. Jack sat alone in a small room with gray walls and a metal table. 3 hours had passed since he had choked the alien diplomat. His coffee had gone cold, and his patience was running thin. The door opened. A tall woman with short blonde hair entered. She wore a lab coat with an ID badge that read, "Dr. Elaine Foster, Xenobiology." "Mr. Miller, I'm Dr. Foster," she said, sitting across from him. "I've been working with the Vracs since they first made contact 6 months ago." Jack raised an eyebrow. 6 months? The news said they just arrived. The public announcement was today. The actual first contact happened earlier. She opened a folder. "You've created quite a situation, Mr. Miller." "Am I under arrest?" Jack asked. "No, quite the opposite, actually." Dr. Foster looked bemused. "The Vracs are refusing to continue diplomatic talks unless you're present." Jack blinked. "That doesn't make any sense. I attacked their diplomat. From our perspective, yes. From theirs?" She slid a tablet across the table showing video footage of the incident. "You demonstrated what they call worthy spirit." The video showed Jack's quick movements as he subdued the alien. It looked worse than Jack remembered. "The Vracs come from a harsh planet," Dr. Foster explained. "Physical strength and quick reflexes are deeply respected in their culture. Your instinctive defense impressed them more than any prepared speech could have." Jack rubbed his face. "So I'm not in trouble?" "No, but we need your help. The Secretary of State is having a fit, but we have no choice. The Vracs want you in the room." 2 hours later, Jack found himself sitting in a conference room at the same facility. He wore the same clothes from earlier, jeans and his diner's t-shirt. Everyone else wore suits or uniforms. The door opened. Zexcor entered with 2 other Vracs. Jack noticed how the aliens moved, smooth and deliberate like predators. "Jack Miller," Zexcor said through the translator device. "We meet again." A government official stood. "Ambassador Zexcor, we again apologize for the incident earlier today. Mr. Miller has been briefed on proper protocol. The alien made the rippling laugh sound again. No apology needed. His reaction was perfect. Humans have been misrepresented to us. Misrepresented? Jack asked before anyone could stop him. Zexcor turned all three eyes toward Jack. Other species in the Galactic Coalition told us humans were weak-minded and passive, suitable only for observation, not alliance. The room went quiet. Dr. Foster leaned forward. You're saying there are other alien species that know about us? Of course. Earth has been known to the Coalition for centuries. Your planet sits at a strategic junction of space lanes, one of the officials whispered. Space lanes? Like highways between stars, Zexcor explained. Your solar system connects three major routes. That makes Earth valuable. Jack frowned. If Earth is so valuable, why wait until now to say hello? The alien seemed pleased by the direct question. Coalition law requires new species to demonstrate certain qualities before contact. Intelligence, yes, but also spirit. The ability to defend oneself is paramount. And my choking you proved that? Jack asked skeptically. Precisely. Most species respond to the ritual of trust with submission or fear. You acted with decisive defense. It confirmed what we Vrax suspected. Humans have the warrior spirit the Coalition needs right now. A military general spoke up. Needs for what? The Coalition faces a threat. A species called the Voidwalkers moves through our territories, consuming resources and leaving devastation. The Coalition Council has grown slow and cautious. They debate while worlds fall. Dr. Foster took notes rapidly. How does this involve Earth? We Vrax believe humans could help. Your kind adapts quickly. You fight well. You think in ways other species do not. Zexcor pointed at Jack. This one showed that clearly. The room erupted in whispers. Jack felt uncomfortable as everyone looked at him. Zexcor continued. We propose Earth join the Coalition immediately, with special status. But the Council requires formal representation. We can assemble a diplomatic team, someone said. No, Zexcor responded firmly. Coalition law is clear. The individual who proves a species' worth must serve as first ambassador. All three eyes fixed on Jack. Jack Miller must represent Earth. Jack nearly choked himself this time. Me? I run a diner. I'm not a diplomat. That is precisely why you are suitable, Zexcor said. The Coalition has too many diplomats who speak well but act poorly. We need one who acts decisively. The room descended into chaos as government officials argued. Jack sat stunned. Dr. Foster leaned toward him. This is unprecedented, she whispered. They're offering us advanced technology, protection, and galactic recognition. All because I put an alien in a headlock, Jack muttered. Sometimes history turns on small moments, she replied. After hours of debate, the officials reached a decision. The president himself had been consulted via secure video. Earth would accept the Vrax offer, with conditions. Jack would serve as ambassador, but with advisors. Dr. Foster would accompany him as scientific counsel. As the meeting ended, Jack pulled Dr. Foster aside. This is crazy. I'm not qualified for this. None of us are qualified for first contact, she said. But they chose you. And honestly, after seeing how the Vrax think, I believe they chose well. When do we leave? Jack asked, still processing. Tomorrow, Dr. Foster replied. Their ship, the Stellar Claw, is preparing for departure. We'll be the first humans to leave the solar system. Jack thought about his diner, his small apartment, his cat that Maria was feeding. His simple life was over. Because of one instinctive reaction, he was now heading to the stars as Earth's representative. Pack light, Dr. Foster advised with a small smile. And maybe practice not choking any more aliens. Jack couldn't help but laugh. No promises. That night, as government agents helped him gather essential belongings, Jack looked up at the stars visible from his apartment window. They had always seemed distant and unreachable. Now they were his destination. Whatever waited out there among those stars, Jack Miller, former Marine diner owner and now reluctant ambassador, would face it the only way he knew how, head on. Jack had never been good with flying. Even small airplanes made his stomach turn. Now he sat strapped into a seat aboard an alien spaceship, watching Earth shrink to a blue marble through a viewing panel. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Foster asked, sitting beside him. "Like I made a huge mistake," Jack admitted. He gripped the edges of his seat as the ship accelerated. The stellar claw was much larger than the small craft that had landed in Pinewood. This ship had living quarters, meeting rooms, and a command center. The walls were made of a material that looked like metal but felt warm to the touch. Zexcor approached them. "We will reach the jump point soon. The sensation is unusual. For new travelers." "Jump point?" Jack asked. Dr. Foster explained. "They use something like wormholes to travel between star systems. It's how they can cross such vast distances quickly." "Will it hurt?" Jack asked. "Not hurt," Zexcor replied. "But your mind may experience confusion. I suggest you close your eyes during the jump." A voice came over the ship's communication system. Jack couldn't understand the words, but Zexcor straightened all four arms. "We approach the jump now," the alien said. "Prepare yourselves." Jack closed his eyes as suggested. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a strange sensation washed over him, like his body was being stretched in every direction at once. Colors flashed behind his eyelids. His thoughts became jumbled, and for a brief moment, he felt like he could see inside his own mind. Then it was over. Jack opened his eyes and immediately leaned over, certain he would be sick. But the feeling passed quickly. "That was interesting," Dr. Foster said. She looked pale but excited. "You both handled your first jump well," said a new voice. Jack looked up to see another Vrax entering the room. This one was slightly smaller than Zexcor, with skin that shifted between blue and green tones. "This is Commander Krell," Zexcor introduced. "She commands the Stellar Claw." Jack was surprised. He hadn't considered that aliens might have genders, similar to humans. "Welcome aboard," Krell said. "We are now in what you would call the Orion Arm Transit Lane. We will reach the Nexus in 3 of your Earth days." "The Nexus?" Jack asked. "The center of coalition politics," Zexcor explained. "A station where representatives from all member species gather." Jack tried to wrap his head around it all. 3 days ago he was flipping burgers in his diner. Now he was traveling through space to meet an entire community of alien species. During the journey, Jack and Dr. Foster learned more about the Galactic Coalition. It included over 200 different species, each with their own worlds and territories. Some had been members for thousands of years, while others were relatively new. "The politics are complex," explained a small alien named Tib, who had joined their ship at some point during the jump. Tib stood only 3 feet tall, with gray skin and large black eyes. He belonged to a species called the Meek, known for their intelligence. "Most new species enter at Tier 7 status," Tib continued. "They have limited rights and must prove themselves over centuries." "What tier would Earth enter at?" Dr. Foster asked. "The Vrax are proposing Tier 3, Tib replied. "Unprecedented for a new species." Jack frowned. "Why? Because I choked Zexcor?" Tibby made a chirping sound that might have been laughter. "Partially, but also because of your planet's location and your species' unique qualities." "What unique qualities?" Jack asked. "Humans adapt quickly. You think differently, and you show a balance of aggression and cooperation that is rare." On the second day, Jack was eating a meal in the ship's common area when an alarm blared. Red lights flashed along the walls. Commander Krell's voice came over the communication system, speaking in the alien language. Zexcor rushed into the room. "We have a problem," the alien said. "Another ship approaches, not Coalition." Jack stood up. "Is it these Voidwalkers you mentioned?" "No, scavengers. They target diplomatic vessels hoping for valuable information or technology." Zexcor looked at Jack curiously. "This could be dangerous." The ship shuddered as something hit it. The lights flickered. "They've locked onto us." "With an energy beam," Zexcor explained. "They will board soon." "Your ship doesn't have weapons?" Jack asked, surprised. Diplomatic vessels are forbidden from carrying heavy weapons under coalition law. We have defensive systems only. Jack thought quickly. How many crew do you have who can fight? 8, including myself and Commander Krell. And how many scavengers? Their vessel suggests a crew of 15 to 20. Jack nodded. Where will they board? Can we secure those areas? Zexacor seemed impressed by Jack's questions. They will likely target the main airlock on level 2. Show me the ship layout, Jack said. Military training kicked in, pushing aside his fear and confusion. Within minutes, Jack was helping organize the Vrax crew into defensive positions. Dr. Foster joined them, looking nervous but determined. I was a field medic before becoming a scientist, she explained. I'll help with any injuries. The scavengers breached the airlock an hour later. They were tall, insect-like creatures with multiple limbs and chitinous armor. They carried energy, weapons, and moved with practiced efficiency. But Jack had prepared. The Vrax had sealed internal doors, forcing the scavengers to enter in small groups. As the first invaders rounded a corner, they found Jack and 3 Vrax waiting in ambush. Leo. Fight was brief but intense. Jack surprised himself by working seamlessly with the aliens. When one scavenger aimed a weapon at Commander Krell, Jack tackled it from behind, using the same grappling technique he had employed on Zexacor back on Earth. After capturing 3 of the invaders, the rest retreated to their ship and disengaged. You fight well, Commander Krell told Jack afterward. Her skin rippled with colors that Dr. Foster said indicated respect. We were lucky, Jack replied, helping Dr. Foster bandage a wound on Tibb's arm. Not luck. Strategy, Zexacor said. You assessed the situation, made a plan, and executed it effectively. This confirms our choice. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He stood at the viewing panel, watching unfamiliar stars streak past. He worried about what waited at the Nexus. Would the other aliens be like the Vrax, or would they be hostile to humans? Troubled thoughts? Zexacor asked, entering the room quietly. Just wondering what I've gotten myself into, Jack replied honestly. A new future. For yourself and your species. The alien stood beside him. The scavengers today were a test, not planned but revealing. The Coalition needs your human perspective. Jack sighed. I'm just one person. I can't represent all of humanity. Yet you must. Zexacor pointed to a bright cluster of stars ahead. There is the Nexus. We arrive, tomorrow. Are you ready to make history, Jack Miller? Jack looked at the growing light. Ready or not, he was about to become humanity's voice among the stars. The Nexus was not what Jack had imagined. He had pictured something like a space station from science fiction movies, sleek, shiny, and symmetrical. Instead, the Nexus looked like a massive floating city. Structures of various shapes and sizes, clustered together, connected by tubes and bridges. Some parts glowed with bright lights while others remained dark. It was beautiful in a chaotic way. It's enormous, Dr. Foster whispered as they approached. The Nexus houses representatives from over 200 species, Zexacor explained. Each section was built by different members of the Coalition to suit their needs. The Stellar Claw docked at a port designed for Vrax ships. Jack felt nervous as he prepared to disembark. He wore a simple dark suit provided by Earth's government before they left. Dr. Foster wore something similar. Remember, she said quietly to Jack, you're not just Jack Miller anymore. You're the first human ambassador. Jack nodded, though his stomach churned. No pressure. A group of Vrax officials met them at the dock. They greeted Zexacor formally, then turned their attention to Jack and Dr. Foster. Their skin rippled with colors that showed curiosity and excitement. So these are humans, one said through a translator device. Smaller than I expected. Jack was about to respond when he noticed other aliens gathering nearby. Some looked almost like the Vrax, with multiple limbs and shifting skin colors. Others were completely different. Floating gas clouds contained in transparent suits, small furry creatures with too many eyes, tall beings with skin like tree bark. Word has spread about your arrival, Zexacor told Jack. Many are curious about humans. Tall, thin alien with pale blue skin approached them. It walked on 2 legs like a human but had 4 arms and no visible mouth. It wore elaborate robes covered in symbols. "This is Council Member Zrath," Zexkor introduced. "From the Elder Species." The alien made a series of clicking sounds. A small device translated, "So you are the human who used physical force on a Vrax diplomat. Interesting that such an act would be the foundation for interspecies relations." Jack wasn't sure if this was criticism or observation. "It was a misunderstanding," he said. "Was it?" Zrath replied. "Or was it revealing of your species' true nature? The Council must determine which." Before Jack could answer, Zrath turned and walked away. "The Elders are cautious about new species," Zexkor explained. "They have been part of the Coalition since its founding." Jack and Dr. Foster were shown to their quarters, a suite of rooms adapted hastily for human needs. The gravity, temperature, and air composition had been adjusted to match Earth's. "The Grand Council will convene tomorrow," Zexkor informed them. "You will present Earth's petition for membership." After the Vrax left, Dr. Foster sat heavily, on a chair. "This is overwhelming." "You're telling me," Jack replied, looking out the window at the alien city that surrounded them. "What exactly am I supposed to say to this council?" "Be honest," she suggested. "That's why they wanted you. Not a trained diplomat." That night Jack couldn't sleep. He wandered the corridors near their quarters, marveling at the strange architecture and occasional alien passers-by. Some nodded in greeting, while others hurried away from him. He found himself in a large open area that reminded him of a park, though the plants were nothing like Earth's. Glowing blue trees stretched toward the ceiling, and ground cover that looked like moss pulsed with gentle light. "Humans enjoy natural settings too, I see," said a voice behind him. Jack turned to find a small alien watching him. It looked like a cross between a fox and a lemur, with large eyes and long fingers. It wore no clothes but had various tools attached to a belt around its waist. "I'm Preem," the alien said through a translator device. "Botanical specialist." "Jack Miller, human ambassador apparently." Preem made a chirping sound. "Yes, everyone is talking about you. The human who impressed the Vrax." "Many are skeptical." "About what?" "About humans joining at Tier 3. It took my species 400 years to reach that level." Preem didn't sound angry, just curious. "Why should humans advance so quickly?" Jack considered this. "I don't know. I'm just here because I reacted to what I thought was a threat." "Precisely," Preem said. "You reacted with violence." "With defense," Jack corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there?" "The Council will want to know." The next day, Jack stood before the Grand Council. The chamber was enormous, with tiered seating that rose in a circle around a central platform where Jack now stood. Hundreds of aliens of various species watched him. Dr. Foster and Zexkor stood to the side. A panel of 9 aliens sat on a raised dais. These were the High Council members representing the most influential species in the Coalition. Council Member Zrath was among them. "Jack Miller of Earth," Zrath began. "You stand here to petition for your world's inclusion in the Galactic Coalition. Normally, new species spend decades proving their readiness. Yet the Vrax propose immediate acceptance at an unprecedented tier level. We must determine if this is justified." Another council member spoke up, a massive being with skin like polished stone. "The human should be tested, as all species are." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. "What kind of tests?" Jack asked. "Tests of intellect, physical capability, emotional control, and ethical reasoning," Zrath explained, "to evaluate your fitness as a representative species." Jack looked at Dr. Foster, who nodded encouragingly. "I accept," Jack said. "But I should point out that I'm just one human. We're diverse in our abilities and perspectives." This caused a stir among the watching aliens. "A reasonable observation," said a third council member, a small floating creature surrounded by a misty glow. "Yet we must work with what is before us." The first test came that afternoon. Jack was presented with a complex mathematical problem involving multiple dimensions. He stared at the symbols, completely lost. "I can't solve this," he admitted. "I'm not a mathematician." The alien administering the test seemed surprised by his honesty. "Most try to pretend knowledge they do not have." "What would that accomplish?" Jack asked. "But I can tell you that Earth has many humans who could solve this easily. We specialize in different areas of knowledge." The second test was physical, a combat simulation against a robotic opponent. Here, Jack's marine training helped him hold his own, though the robot eventually overpowered him. "Respectable performance," noted Commander Krell, who had been watching. The ethical reasoning test proved most challenging. Jack was presented with scenarios involving decisions that would save some lives while sacrificing others. The alien seemed particularly interested in his decision-making process. "You consider factors beyond pure numbers," observed one examiner. "Interesting." As the days passed, Jack met more representatives from various species. Some were openly hostile to the idea of human membership, while others were curious or supportive. One evening, he encountered a group of smaller aliens who reminded him of the scavengers who had attacked the Stellar Claw. "These are the Kitik," Tib explained when Jack mentioned this observation. "Distant cousins of the raiders we encountered. The Kitik are respected coalition members, but they were once denied membership for generations. They resent Earth's potential special status." Jack began to understand the complex politics at play. Earth's admission at Tier 3 would upset centuries of tradition and careful diplomatic balance. "Why are the Vraks pushing so hard for us?" Jack asked Zexcor later that night. The alien's skin darkened to a deep purple. "Because the threat of the Voidwalkers grows while the Council debates. We believe humans think differently. You find solutions where others see only problems. The Coalition needs that now, before it is too late." Jack pondered this as he prepared for the final day of testing. Whatever happened tomorrow would determine humanity's place among the stars. The final day of testing arrived. Jack stood again in the Grand Council chamber, but this time the mood felt different. The room buzzed with tension. More aliens filled the seats than before, and small flying cameras hovered near the ceiling. "Today, we conclude our evaluation of the human Jack Miller and decide on Earth's petition to join the Coalition," Council Member Zrath announced. "Before we proceed, are there any who wish to speak for or against this petition?" Several aliens rose from their seats. The first to speak was a Chitik representative, clicking angrily. "Humans are too primitive. Their technology barely allows them to leave their own planet. How can they contribute to the Coalition?" Another alien, tall and plant-like, spoke next. "The Vraks proposal disrupts thousands of years of tradition. New species must earn their place over time." Jack listened as more arguments against Earth's membership followed. He glanced at Dr. Foster, who looked worried, and Zexcor, whose skin had darkened to a deep purple. Finally, Zexcor moved forward to speak. "The Coalition faces the greatest threat in 10,000 years. The Voidwalkers have already consumed 3 outer systems. They will not wait while we follow tradition. Humans think differently. They act when action is needed. We need this now." "Dumwa." Chamber erupted in heated debate. Jack watched as various aliens argued back and forth. Some supported Earth's inclusion while others strongly opposed it. Council Member Zarath raised all forearms for silence. "We have heard the arguments. Now, as tradition demands, the candidate species representative must make a final statement before we vote." Jack stepped forward to the center of the platform. His mouth felt dry. He had prepared a speech with Dr. Foster's help, but looking at the alien faces surrounding him, he decided to speak from the heart instead. "I'm not a politician or a diplomat," Jack began. "A week ago, I was cooking burgers in a small diner on Earth. I'm here because I choked an alien who I thought was attacking me. That's not exactly a normal way to start diplomatic relations." This caused a ripple of translator devices to chirp and click as his words spread through the chamber. "But I've learned something important during my time here. Despite our different Appearances and backgrounds, we all share common concerns. We want safety for our people. We want to grow and learn. And right now, we all face a common threat. Jack looked directly at the council members. You've tested me to see if I represent humanity's qualities. But the truth is, no single human could do that. We're diverse in our abilities, our beliefs, and our approaches to problems. That diversity is our strength. Where one human might fail, another finds a solution. He gestured to Dr. Foster. Dr. Foster can understand complex scientific concepts that I can't. I have combat skills she doesn't. Together we're stronger than either of us alone. Earth has billions of humans, each with different strengths. That's what we offer the coalition, not just one way of thinking, but many. The chamber had grown quiet. Even those who had opposed Earth's membership were listening. I can't promise that humans will solve all your problems, but I can promise that we'll try, in ways you might not have considered. Sometimes what looks like our weakness, our unpredictability, might be exactly what's needed against an enemy that anticipates every traditional response. Jack was about to continue when alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed along the walls. Councilmember Zrath received a message through a small device and rose quickly. The chamber is sealed, Zrath announced. Security reports intruders in the Nexus. They have disabled several systems. Panic spread through the room. Various alien representatives moved toward the exits, but the doors remained locked. Who are the intruders? Jack asked. Unknown, Zrath replied, but they have bypassed our most secure protocols. Jack's mind raced. Is there another way out of this chamber? There is an emergency exit behind the council seats, Zexakor said quietly. But it is controlled by the same system that has been compromised. Suddenly, a section of the chamber wall exploded inward. Through the smoke, tall, dark figures emerged. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb light, making their outlines blur. Each carried weapons unlike anything Jack had seen before. Voidwalkers, gasped Tib, who had joined them on the platform. Here, in the heart of the coalition, the armored figures began firing their weapons. Strange energy bolts struck several aliens, freezing them in place. The council members were quickly surrounded by security forces, but more Void Walkers poured through the breach. They're after the council, Dr. Foster realized. This is an assassination attempt. Jack looked around quickly, assessing the situation just as he had on the Stellar Claw. Zexakor, can those podiums be moved? The Vrax nodded. Jack turned to the security forces. Create a barrier, protect the council members. To his surprise, the alien security forces followed his directions, quickly pushing the heavy podiums into a defensive formation. Jack helped guide several frightened representatives behind the barrier. One Voidwalker broke through, aiming directly at council member Zrath. Without hesitation, Jack tackled the armored figure. They crashed to the floor, the alien's weapon skittering away. The Voidwalker was incredibly strong, but Jack used his marine combat training to hold it down. I need something to restrain it, he shouted. Dr. Foster rushed forward with cables torn from a nearby console. Together, they bound the Voidwalker's limbs while security dealt with the others. The attack was over in minutes. Coalition security forces arrived in larger numbers, securing the chamber and the captured intruders. Zrath approached Jack, who was breathing heavily from the fight. You protected me. Protected the council. Why? Because that's what allies do, Jack replied simply. The council reconvened hours later. The attack had changed the mood in the chamber. Those who had argued against Earth's membership were notably silent. The Voidwalkers infiltrated our most secure location, Zrath announced. This confirms the urgent threat the Vrax have warned about. It also demonstrated something else. Zrath turned to Jack. In crisis, the human acted to protect others, not just himself. He organized our defense when our own protocols failed. The council members conferred briefly. Then Zrath spoke again. The vote is complete. Earth is accepted into the Galactic Coalition at Tier 3 status, with Jack Miller confirmed as first ambassador. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. Chirps, clicks, hums, and other alien expressions of agreement. Jack stood stunned as Zexicor's skin rippled with bright colors of celebration. "Congratulations, Ambassador Miller," Dr. Foster said, smiling broadly. Later, in a quiet moment at the newly established Earth Embassy within the Nexus, Jack looked out at the vast expanse of space visible through the viewing window. "How are you feeling?" asked Zexcor, joining him. "Overwhelmed," Jack admitted. "1 week ago I didn't know aliens existed. Now I'm responsible for representing my entire planet." "You will not be alone," the Virax assured him. "Your government will send others to assist you. And you have already made allies here," Jack nodded. "Still, it's a long way from flipping burgers." "Indeed." Zexcor made the rippling laugh sound. "And it began with you choking me. Perhaps not the traditional start to diplomacy, but effective." Jack smiled. "I should probably learn the proper way to greet different species now." "Yes," Zexcor agreed. "Though your way made quite an impression." As Jack looked out at the stars, he thought about Earth, about his small diner in Pinewood, about Maria feeding his cat. His old life seemed like a distant memory now. Ahead lay challenges he couldn't even imagine. Learning about hundreds of alien cultures, helping defend against the Void Walkers, building relationships across species. All because he'd choked an alien who had reached for his throat. "Ready to begin your duties, Ambassador?" Dr. Foster asked. Entering the room with several data tablets, Jack turned from the window. "Ready as I'll ever be." And so began humanity's official entry into the galactic community, not with grand speeches or careful diplomacy, but with one human's instinctive action and the unexpected journey that followed.